Welcome again. This is Brother G coming to you again with another video message, another video teaching. Does suffered means allow? Does suffer mean allow? Well, contextually, does suffering interpret to mean allow? Every time I used to read this particular excerpt or this particular law or principle of Jesus, what they gave to us or forced upon us. And I read this principle, and the story goes like this. It goes like Jesus was teaching, and when Jesus was teaching, we're going to read it. And Jesus was teaching, the disciples started to stop the women who were taking their children to Jesus. And so when, different excerpt, I'm paraphrasing. Then Jesus then said to his disciple, which is strange. It's strange because it's obvious that anybody more than children, I'm saying it like that, whatever, need the principles of Jesus, because even the world know it, our history teaches that, as Solomon teach say, and the world know it, and experience know it, say, you train up the child in the way him should grow, and when he grow old, he will not depart. So you have to grab children from when them young. I guess the disciple them never get the memo, or it was such in a awesome setting. But I've seen this with my eyes too. I've seen this with my eyes first, and I've heard this too, where people unknowingly bar children from the principle of Jesus, what they gave to us or what they forced upon us without knowing it. So when I look at the disciple and I kept reading it, the word suffer, which many eloquent people, even now, even if they hear this message or this video teaching say suffer mean allow, contextually or experientially it doesn't make sense that suffer means allow. And we're going to just read two excerpts, and we might get into another example to show that suffer don't mean allow in what they interpret or gave to us. So we're going to look at this and realize, and we're going to open it up, and remember, you can't cast off your experience, because truly God is in you just like God is in me. So you can't cast off your own experience because now you're reading something or somebody is telling you something contrary to your own experience. And that is, in this context, is regarding children. Now let's read the text and see what the Spirit of truth can reveal to all of us, and all of us who come for hear the message of the gospel of truth and reality. And reality is part of your experience. So let's read the text. Luke 18 verse 16. But Jesus called them unto himself and said, Suffer the little children to come unto me, and forbid them not, for of such is the kingdom of God. Truly, when you read this, and the man them interpret it, and the eloquent man them bring the message to us, then bring it to us and force it upon us, or give it to us, and some of us receive it, and others it get forced upon. Them interpret says, this when it says suffer the little children, and you look upon it contextually, them say, they would read it like, allow little children to come unto me, and forbid them not, for of such is the kingdom of God. And the whole of us are, as much as me here eloquent preachers, I preach this. So the kingdom of his God is like unto children. But really it is like unto one who is a children in spirit, or you learn late. So it can be contextually little children. The woman might bring the little children context, because generally a little children come to the understanding or spiritual understanding later in life, whether they are of God or not. They come to spiritual understanding later in life. So contextually, we're going to say this talk about little children. The age is not really important, because the earlier the better. Obviously, the world know this. Everybody should know this. So contextually, this attack about children, right? So even if you want to stop the gun violence, you have to grab children from them young, not the old people them really, are the children them you need for clean the next generation. That's wisdom. Anyways, people don't know this still, but anyways. So the interpreter them will bring the message to us, said this suffer here mean allow. But when you read it and the wisdom or the spirit of truth come to you and your experience teaches you wisdom, as many say, but sometimes adhere to it even if it teach it, that this couldn't mean allow here. You don't allow children to come to the knowledge of the truth. You can't allow children to come, using the term allow little children. And so they look at it contextually, say the women were bringing the children, and it was an assumption which our experience teach us on the contrary, that the women were bringing the children depending on the age. They were bringing the children were willingly coming to Jesus. Not so. That's not true according to experience. Children don't readily come to what is good or good principles. As Solomon would say, and everybody know this, the world know this, all over the world know this, that you have to train up children from them very young, even before as them come out of the womb, as quickly as possible, so that the devil can't grasp them, the devil can't grab them and lead them astray. So if you want your children to be in the kingdom of God and understand the kingdom principles, you have to grab them when them small. Smaller, the better. Not even before them start talk, you have to grab them. Obviously, the world know this. Even the devil know this. Of course, the devil know this. So when we look at the term suffer here and the women, contextually, this couldn't mean allow children, as some would preach, or some where the devil has blinded their hands, that blinded their eyes, that children can choose for themselves. How is that possible? So children should choose for themselves when children is not yet developed. They're not spiritually discerning yet. That everybody know this. Anyways, so this suffer cannot mean allow little children. So when you look up the term suffer and you start break down the different contextual meaning, suffer here is more akin or in relationship with bear, like you're bearing, or I would say even go to the other angle or perspective, as you force little children to come to the principle. Don't forbid them, force them, because children won't willingly come to the principles that are good. Children are impulsive, children are malleable. So this suffer here as what we have inherited from eloquent people, that suffer mean allow children, and now the world has taken on this idea that you allow children to choose for themselves. 1 Timothy 2 verse 12. Here Paul to Timothy, to the elders, to the particular church that Timothy was governing. So you hear Paul to him now. I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. Now, I'm not getting into teaching about who should be leaders, because that's so evidential to me through experience now and through the spirit of truth. I'm just looking at the term suffer here and using it even in another excerpt in the New Testament, where Paul says now to Timothy, but I suffer not a woman, as in the understanding that Paul is saying, I will not allow not a woman to teach nor usurp authority. When you start look at the context and what it means and the actual term suffer, it means, but I will bear not a woman to teach. In other words, this perspective here is similar to the children. Paul will not bear it. It's a burden. Or in breaking down the context of it, is the elders were forcing some women to teach. It was the leaders Paul was always talking to, not the women. Paul was talking to the elders. He was talking to Timothy. He was talking to male. Say he will not bear or force a woman to teach, nor to, as it says, usurp was to grab authority in the academic sense. Academic sense, he neither want women to seize authority, meaning grab it, go after it for themselves. So one is he would not bear or force, which some men do. Some men force women to be leaders or force women to teach, and other women seize authority. So that's basically what the suffer in even these two contexts really mean. It means like force in the good sense with the children, force them to the principle of Jesus, force them quickly at a young age. And likewise for the woman, he will not, some men shouldn't force woman to be leader, or some woman they shouldn't allow the woman to seize authority. No, we just explaining the old interpretation that we get comparing to our. So while the women should force children to the principle of Jesus, in contrast, some men should not force women to teach nor to seize authority, because behind really, when we look at experience and we look at wisdom and we look at the spirit of truth, a lot of women don't want to lead, but they are tempted or are forced into leadership position, just like the serpent and just like the idea of the serpent leading the woman. They force them into what is not naturally, not just we saying it, naturally their roles. And that's what Paul is saying. So we're coming back to the understanding of suffer meaning allow. In reality, suffer doesn't mean allow, especially with children. Suffer in the context of children means to force them into the principle of the kingdom of God.